Hello, everyone. This is Prateek Gandhi. I am your co-host for today. Along with me is Yogesh, who's joining in from London.
Start in a few seconds.
And we want to welcome you, everyone, to the fourth episode of the Lockdown Conversations, where it's our job to kind of deconstruct the fundamentals around what's happening at this point in time and discuss on the topics that really matter right now. So we believe this place is to unite and inspire, and I'm really happy and privileged to have you guys to kind of have inspired. I mean, to inspire everyone essentially. So today, before going in the topic, I just wanted to get away with a couple of disclaimers. Essentially, for the speakers, this is going to be a recorded live stream, which means it's going to stay on multiple platforms, and I'll be definitely giving credits. But at the same time, I want to make sure that you guys participate as much as you can. Do not be obligated for any reason. Feel free to express your thoughts, opinions. For everyone else, the audience, the attendees, the content in the session is for informational purposes only. This should not be considered as advice, like legal, business, tax, or anything. Whatever is mentioned in this or will be mentioned in this in terms of projections, estimates, forecasts, targets. It's in the session are subject to change without notice and may differ from the expressions or opinions expressed by these people. So the goal, like I said, is to make this participative, as participative as we can. So we'd love to have the questions as well at the end or whenever you think is the right time. So let's dive right in. Yogesh, do you want to kick off with
Yes,
the introductions? And yeah, we can just start.
absolutely. First and foremost, I think I'd like to thank all of our panel members who found time in their calendars to actually join us today for this conversation. Also, thanks a lot to everyone who's dialed in to listen to these inspirational stories. Now, we all know and we all agree that we are living through exceptional times. We've probably not seen something like this ever before in our lifetimes. So, how would governments respond? How would individuals respond? How would society respond? Was a bit of an unknown. And I think, every day we are learning something new in terms of, what this has brought to us, what this is doing to us as individuals, but also what this is doing to the society as a whole. We all know the doctors, the nurses, the police, the government is doing a heroic job of securing and keeping people safe during these circumstances. We also know that this is a challenge unlike anything we've seen, and it needs formidable effort and formidable commitment from everyone to actually overcome, which is why we've seen, all across the world, people have found time to actually come out and applause, whether it is lighting candles, whether it is, coming into the balcony and clapping for them. I think the first line of defense deserves all the applause it gets. But, when you also look at the challenge that is ahead of us, only the first line by itself is not going to be sufficient for people to stay back home and stay safe. You'd also need the next level of individuals who will come in and step in and actually, be a force for the good and inspire everyone to do the right thing. And that is where I feel there is the second line of defense that is so critical to the effort of keeping us all safe in this moment of crisis. The people who keep the rest of the society safe and secure, put systems and processes in place so that that can happen. People who can reach out to the needy and actually, find sources for them to feed them and keep them healthy. Because the last thing you need during this crisis is people not having sufficient immunity because they are hungry. And, so finding that food and the sources for that to happen, I think, those are real heroes as well. Then, there are individuals who are going above and beyond and saying, I'm not going to stay back in my house, but step out, generate resources and route it to people in the far and remote corners of all across our country. And that is where, the efforts of people like Amit Jain come into place. Country, when you take all of this together, that this second line is doing an incredible job of allowing people to stay back home, back safe. And today we thought, we'll bring some of those incredible stories in front of our audience and relive them and actually, let these heroes tell their stories, how they're going about it. And today, I'm really thankful and I'm really excited that we've got six incredible individuals. I'd go one at a time in no particular order, really. Mr. Ajit Petkar, who is the Secretary of Postal Society, a complex which houses more than 1,500 people. And to ensure that these people can stay safe in the society, and putting in system in place so that they don't have to step outside, expose them to risk. We'll speak with Mr. Ajit Petkar to understand how he is doing that. Today, we also have Principal Bhandari with us. Principal Bhandari is part of the Bharatiya Jain Sangatna, who's been doing great work in terms of taking care of children from, impoverished regions of Maharashtra. But they're also working towards arranging ambulances which can go to, slums and all of these people, where they can provide medical care direct to the door with the initiative of doctor to door. They've also got a hostel facility which they are working towards converting into the quarantine ward if the government needs to access that facility. So Mr. Bhandari, welcome to the conversation today. I also have the pleasure of us pleasure of Amit Munot joining us today. Amit Munot is an old friend, not very old, but we've spent a lot of our life together. When I was student, we were sort of living in a hostel. Amit Munot is a chartered accountant. He's also a treasurer of Vardhamanpura Society, and through their society, they've raised more than 6 lakh rupees, and they've contributed that to the PM Cares Fund. I also have with me Juhi Rai, who's a claimed author, who's the founder of uh, Life the Life Workshop, and I think overall a great individual to know, very inspiring in her work. And I personally, been I've personally been influenced by some of the things she's done in her life, and I can only say thank you for the impact she's having on people like me. She's closely associated with the MIT College. It's also the college that I went to, Juhi, and I spent about 6 years doing my bachelor's as well as master's. So when you work with students, I kind of personally feel obligated and thankful to your efforts. I'm really pleased. Amir has also joined us. Amir is the founder of the Dal Chawal project. A really simple idea, but something that will connect with a lot of hearts here. So Amir, welcome. And finally, I should also say welcome to Amit Jain. Amit Jain has been able to raise 10 lakh rupees in a very short period of time. He's channeling that to the remotest corner of our country, getting that money to the poor and the needy, not just limiting his impact to the urban areas, but all across the world. And that's the nature of the panel we have today. And I can probably go on for half an hour more just talking about each of these individuals, but I think it's time to dive right in and actually hear from them. I'm going to actually start with Amit Jain now, asking him the first question. Amit, where are you and what are you doing where you are right now?
Right. In India, I think everybody wish to go to that part of India, which is very remote, and people have heard a lot of negativity and false story about that, and which is Northeast.
Mhm.
All the Arunachal, Nagaland, Manipur, like when I heard that I'll be going to that region, people told me that they cut you in pieces in lunch. So that was a story I heard when I was about to visit the Northeast. So right now I was backpacking across India for 6 months.
Mhm.
Initial plan was to travel from Kanyakumari to Kashmir and Arunachal to Bombay, like complete
Right.
Indian structure. So I was in Arunachal, Itanagar, when I was around 4 months into backpacking, and I've been to 100 plus cities. So before the lockdown, one day before, I was in Itanagar. So the state government had issued ILP, in a permit line. Then I have to move to Guwahati, to be in a safe zone. So yeah, I'm in Guwahati right now, Northeast, and it was my dream to be here for a few days after leaving the job, but now it's been more than a month. So yeah, I'm more Guwahatian right now than Punekar.
Wonderful, good stuff. Amit, I would like to know from you, you said you've been backpacking across India from Kashmir to Kanyakumari and from Arunachal to Mumbai as such.
Bombay.
And while you're doing, yeah, Bombay, and while you're doing this journey, you also been able to sort of generate a lot of funds through your initiative, Mitti Ke Rang. Can you please tell us a bit more about Mitti Ke Rang, what it is, and how you've been able to, generate funds while you've been traveling, essentially?
Mm-hmm. Right. So Mitti Ke Rang, we started 6 years back with an initiative to help poor people into slums community. And for 5 years, so I was working with the Bank of New York, And just to give a brief about myself, I am from Bhusawal, a town in Maharashtra, and I lost my father when I was 3. And the complete childhood went into a pretty bad way, but thanks to all the family members, because of whom we were able to, live a good life. Then I did my BCom in Bhusawal itself, and I wanted to, do come out of Bhusawal and do some work and earn money. Then luckily I came to Pune in 2012 with 1,000 in my pocket. We were so poor at that time. And after struggling for a month to, get a job, and because people told me, if you do a BCom, you don't get a job. So that thought I had in my mind. But when I came here, I applied for a job 8 once in a day. So luckily, Bank of New York recruited me, and it was a surprise for everybody because coming from a small town, getting into Bank of New York was pretty big thing. But after in 2 years, my mom came to Pune. Then we thought, let's do something for society because complete life, family has been a great support, uncle and aunt, all those people. So we started with Mitti Ke Rang, and the initial response was to collect clothes and donate books to slums and NGOs. And I just thought, I'll do this for 1 year and then I'll do my MBA to earn more money. But to cut the long story short, Mitti Ke Rang in 5 years grows so much that I have to leave my job last year. So last year in 2019, in the month of January, so we had women who make paper bags and candles and all. Then that was a time either I can be in Bank of New York or I can continue with Mitti Ke Rang because the work pressure was being mounted up both the ways. And I thought, okay, let's leave the job, let's give it a try, even though all were against me for this decision. And to just give you a background, I told my family that my company is kicking me out because they'll never agree the fact that I came with 1,000. I'm leaving the job in the age of 28. I'm like, chalo karke dekhte kya hota hai. Then I just left the job, took Mitti Ke Rang full time. And to tell you a bit, Mitti Ke Rang was an NGO before, but now we call it as a social venture. We learned from a mistake, and it was like when you call an NGO, charity and all those things come into picture, garibi and all. And we didn't want to sell that because women, widow who work with us, they can earn money with dignity. So we moved from an NGO to a social venture wherein the women make candle, paper bag. We sell it all over the world through Amazon, Shopify. And as a founders, we also earn profit to become more sustainable. So that's a model of Mitti Ke Rang. And after leaving job, I'm like, let's backpack across India because in India, we have so many women doing so many wonderful stuff in the most remotest part of the country. So then the journey started. And also now it's been 150 days for me backpacking. My complete expenditure is like around 18,000 rupees, 1 8.
Oh.
So that's how I just did the backpacking. And this is what Mitti Ke Rang is all about.
Amazing.
So, Amit, I've closely followed your journey. I mean, since we last met a couple of years ago, to what you're doing. I mean, I for sure remember that you were doing something on the side. You were running different like meetups and stuff, but I wasn't like knowing that okay, this is going to be turning into like such a big thing. So hats off to you, man. I mean, what you're doing is amazing. And yeah, I also want to understand like as to you built this amazing platform. There are so many people who are joining you, like helping you with respect to like different resources. You mentioned about the way people are actually working as well to get things done for you. So how did this idea of let's say coming up with this fundraiser come in or kick in? I mean, yes, we are in this kind of a situation, but I mean, you being in a very different part of the country and thinking of something like this on your own individually, that's I think an amazing feat. And I'd like to discover like what your journey was there, like around that.
Right. So when I came to Guwahati, first was my survival. So first 4 days, I was like, talking to a friend where I could stay and how we can eat. And because we all are bachelors, the place I'm staying, so we make our own food, wash our own utensils and everything. And it's really a struggle to even survive, like what food to make in the evening and morning. So in the 4 days, I was, getting myself comfortable here. Meanwhile, I was getting so many messages from people who's been a part of MKRN. They know what we are doing. So they are like, Amit, if we could be of help, we could be of any help to any people, let us know. So that time the idea came up, okay, let's do a campaign, the Milap campaign. And frankly, the complete journey of Mitti Ke Rang, if I could name one person who is the backbone of the complete ideation of all the work we do, is our co-founder, Mr. Saket Deshmukh. So we happened to meet in a meetup like 6 years back. And from there on, he's with us and he's the complete ideation of everything. So we were having a call, like we talk almost 2 hours a daily to discuss about the things and all. So he's in Pune and he was like, let's do something. If we could transfer 1,000 rupees to 1,000 families, the direct bank transfer, because they need money right now and they have access to bank in the remotest areas, ATMs and all. So that's how the idea came in. And frankly, when we did this event on Milap, the campaign, we thought of raising 10 lakh rupees for 1,000 people. But looking at the condition right now, we thought if we could raise 1 lakh rupees even, that would be a great amount. But to our surprise, in one day we raised 1 lakh rupees, and in 9 days we raised 1 million rupees. So that was a shocking for everybody in a team, even for the donors. And this campaign was been supported by around 900 plus people. And to talk about the campaign, particularly in 3 days, we raised 3 lakh rupees. And after that, we started to exhaust the network. Ki ab kisko bole donation karo. Then what we did, like we just thought ki, okay, let's start with a very basic amount, 100 rupees. So one night I just got this, ki, okay, we can do this. Next day, we broadcasted this message to around more than 5,000 people. In 1 hour, we raised 1,50,000 rupees.
Wow.
So that time we learned, and we got a couple of messages from students, from NGOs, and from the auto drivers, from the local people. When you asked us to donate before, we thought 500, 1,000 is a basic amount which needs to be donated. But when you made 100 rupees a very respected amount, that time we thought, okay, we can also contribute. And the feeling they got ki we did something, even though it's a basic amount, that was out of the world for even for us. And just to answer the conclusion, how are we reaching out to the people whom we are transferring the money? So we are doing this in 2 phases. 50% we are distributing to all the NGOs, around 50 plus NGO all over India, like Assam, Arunachal, Nagaland, Manipur, Bihar, UP, MP. And we know these people from a long time. So we are transferring 10,000 for 10 families. They're buying all the groceries and distributing to all the tribal people who don't have access. And also, when you go to a remotest place, the government give it at a very low cost. So with 1,000, we can help more and more people. That's the 50% we are donating, and 50% we are transferring directly to the beneficiaries. Now you will ask me how you are identifying it. For example, Yogesh or Pratik, you tell me, Amit, these are the family who need help. We know you. So we are doing this all on the basis of reference from all over India. We are getting all the bank details, getting all the social media links of the referred person. We are transferring the amount immediately. And I'm happy to share that we have transferred to like 1,000 family in like 12 days. And now we got request again from them. Karamit, we again need help because it got extended. So from 10 lakh, we moved to 20 lakh. And again, we raised like 1.1 million in 2 days. So now that's how the journey is.
Amazing.
That's truly incredible. I think just this ability to use your network to generate resources, and then also find ways to channelize those resources to people who need the most. I think that really deserves a big applause. So well done there, Amit. I think I'm going to just extend this conversation out, because you're talking about people who really need things at this point. I'm going to go to Amir and Juhi in Mumbai. I believe you're in Mumbai right now. And just tell us a bit more about Dal Chawal project, and how did the idea of Dal Chawal project came, and how have you put that into practice?
So firstly, namaste to everyone from both of us, and thank you so much, Yogesh and Pratik, for putting this together. We feel very humble and very grateful right now. Thank you. And just hearing what we just heard from Amit Jain, I think we are both very inspired, and we're thinking, oh my God, we need to increase our numbers.
Indeed.
So Amit has this, Amir is like, he cannot see anybody go without food. It is something that he, is just, it's a God gift he has or something. And so initially we were just distributing food that we were making at our own homes. And
so I'll just add in. So it all started with all of this happening, the outage, the lockdown and the crisis when it began. A lot of videos. I stumbled upon a video, although as Juhi said, initially it started like what we can do on our own personal level. because if you get out to take your essentials or anything, you will come across a few people who will lack the basic amenities, food. So I stumbled upon this video and it hit me really hard. Of course, I've had a track of working in the past with organizations like the Robin Hood Army, etc. And this time it just clicked. So it all started on a very micro level, where like Juhi mentioned, we whatever in our own bit, like just by increasing one portion or two portions of your daily meals that you make at home, you can impact at least one per a person's life for that day. It all started with a post. Out of emotion and out of compassion, I well went on social media with the power of social media, and a post started. Um, Through that, it attracted more like-minded people who felt the same about the condition. It started with a friend. It started with $1,000, 1,000 rupees. My friend, walked up to me like, "Hey, you're doing something." This during the quarantine shopping. Like I bumped into him at a grocery store, and so that's how it started. The word spread. Another friend from UK sent in a slightly bigger amount. The second amount was close to 10,000. So that was the first breakthrough. When I got that, I was like, okay, so this is actually picking up. So the thing about such things is, the beauty about such things is when you start it, it's a really it comes from a clean place, and you really want to do something, and the whole universe, it just adds up. Like I'm sure all the gentlemen here would agree. So we went on to by the sixth date, it started with 1,000. Then for quite some days, I just had 10,000 in my kitty, and being like, okay, I have to put this to use. It went on. We started doing meals. We started with in Mumbai, in an area called Madanpura Bike Club, where it's densely populated with individuals who have traveled from rural areas, your artisans, your daily workers, your embroidery karigars, etc., daily wage workers. We started with 100, kept keeping it clear with spreading the message, and yeah, it's been so far. I guess we've done how many meals?
2,600 meals.
2,600 meals. Yes, we've raised close to I guess a lakh in 6 days, which we aim truly inspired by Amit here, Mr. Amit here. So that's the aim. So that's about it. That's how it started. So we're taking one area at a time. We're trying to grow one meal at a time.
Nice. I mean, I know this is very inspiring, and this is very this thing interesting as well in terms of how this went through. Let's say you watching a particular thing on the internet, and then getting inspired, and then doing something of your own, and then people just coming along the way. So one thought that I just quickly thought, and I thought of getting it out, is you could essentially partner with someone like Amit to get more people involved, so, because he has some amazing resources.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and I think what struck me in both of these examples is when Amit Jain said that he started asking for, let's say, 100 rupees
Okay.
and made it really accessible for people to say, okay, I can pitch in too. And like when I first saw Juhi's post, and I was struck by simplicity of it, that a meal of dal chawal for 20 rupees a person, and that tells you that it doesn't take a lot to actually feed a hungry person. And then if you actually don't do that, then you expose them to the risk, because then they are going to come out on street and try and find work, and put more lives at risk. And just sort of considering the conditions they live in, if these people start taking untoward risk, they're not just going to expose them, but they're going to expose an entire area. So I think both of these examples, starting really simple and making everybody feel like they can be part of their journey. I feel that was the simplicity of that idea that has sort of made them a success that they are. I'm going to ask this slightly sensitive question to Juhi now. When you're doing this work, and when you're actually putting yourself out there to get that food across to these people, how do you ensure that you guys can remain safe? Because that is critical as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, we like you. So just to quickly share the stats with you, we started with the plan was to make 21 rupees a meal, and 2,000 bucks helps us feed about 100 people. And so we started spreading the word. You saw the campaign on Instagram. That's how we worded it. And soon, like by the time it was, I think the sixth day, we were like, we can go up. We had already raised enough money to go up to 600 meals a day. And the idea was so exciting that, oh my God, 300 people will eat, between 300 and 600 people will eat. And we ensured that food is not getting wasted, because, Amir ensured it's very, very delicious food. Sometimes I feel even I should go stand in the line and get some for myself. But that was the challenge and the beauty of it, because we had to stop Mr. Robin Hood from venturing out, and to create the entire system and the process in place where money can be collected, can be transferred to the right parties. We are not an NGO. We have zero experience of that. So we have our own Paytms, and we didn't even have Google Pay that time, to be honest, our own accounts. To ask people to transfer money to your personal account, and then we were like, it's okay. Bhagwan Malik hai, aage badho. Let's just keep doing the work.
Sure.
So main thing was that we are not stepping out of the house. And we were very lucky that Amir has created the system in a way at Madanpura where the gloves are worn, the food is made in the most best way possible. The money is reached without, again, it's contactless. And the food, just to manage the line, because there's a behavioral aspect. उसको भूख लगी है, वो उसको बोलना कि भैया लाइन में खड़े रहो, मास्क पहन के आओ, and he's like, मैंने खाना नहीं खाया है, पहले खाना दे दो. So it was beautifully managed, and we had to discuss this amongst ourselves, and then he would transfer that training on the phone to the people involved. And the beauty of it was that everything came aligned so well that we were able to finish the distribution of 100 meals in 7 minutes, ensuring that nobody is coming too close, or there is a contactless distribution of food without increasing the cost of, let's say, the packaging of the food, and so on and so forth.
Nice.
So yeah, to answer the question, everybody's safety was absolute priority.
Great. I mean, it's good to like understand as to there was there is a framework that you're going by in terms of like having a system with the process, and then you basically essentially optimize that process by delivering it in, let's say, like less than 7 minutes. So that's something we can obviously think about as well, like as to how just want to understand from you both as to like if people want to get involved, how can they get involved in the community like right now? Are there any resources right now, or they can just like message you? How's the process like?
Absolutely, it's a transfer of trust process. We have only asked friends, families who have asked friends, families.
Nice.
We have received from rupees 21 to rupees 21,000. But people have come together. I don't know, but it's a little crude, to be honest, and it's very, very simple. They transfer the money to us, we transfer the money we are not transferring money directly, but we are transferring it through the meals. People can contact us and connect with us. What I have requested my friends to do is, if suppose a friend calls and says, can I transfer you an X amount of money? I would tell them, can you also help me by telling more people about it? And through your own circle of 7-8 friends, you collect the money in your account and then transfer it to.
She was the first, one of the first people who actually invested in this thought. Like, hey, why not? And so, like I said, that's how it grows. You connect with people. So far, so good. So yeah, our campaigns are on. So far, we're just doing it on a personal level, like she said, or the one on calls to your friend, like a transfer of trust. It's on Instagram, the Dal Chawal Project. We are working on increasing our reach in terms of, we are still in a discussion phase where we're thinking if we need to increase the volume of meals that are going out in that area. Working on tying up tie-ups with other spaces like kitchens, and ensuring, like, if we can increase the area geographically, we can reach out to more people. There's another project, if all goes well, there is a plethora. I mean, might sound you know a little funny, but I have the banana project you might come across pretty soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, that's
Uh,
another thing in the
I like the fact that you guys are thinking about it from a sustainability standpoint as well, because I mean, providing one meal versus, let's say, providing meals every day for the next, I don't know, like so many days is something. Yeah, I mean, I love like that thought, and then again venturing out into different projects. That's another beautiful thing as well. Awesome.
Pratik,
Yeah.
I think I'm just going to wish Joey and Amir all the best in their venture to feed as many people as they can. I think from be it the dal chawal or be it the banana, and I think it just means that, yeah, it just means the simplest forms of food are actually sufficient to keep a person going,
Yeah.
and the simplicity, the more simple you keep it, the more sustainable you can make it. So I think so it's a great initiative. We're thankful to you. I'm going to move to Mr. Bhandari sir now. And Bhandari sir has been working with the Bharatiya Jain Sangatna for a while, and their institution has been working towards helping a variety of people in the society. And I'm going to ask him specifically about their doctor to door initiative. Sir, if you can tell us a bit more about it, please.
Uh, Thanks both Gandhis for inviting me on behalf of BJS. We have started as a Corona in Maharashtra basically. We are starting work for three ways. One is a quarantine center, second one is doctor to door stay. The third one is BJS mission connection. For doctor to door step, started on 1st April. 1st April, 15 ambulances with well equipped medical facilities and doctor inside PCMC areas, whether the people don't get the doctor facility, and for basic requirements, there is a doctor in this ambulance. Certain facilities are there, and in PCMC area and the PCMC area, ambulance goes up within timing 11 to 5, and about every day, 20 to 300 each ambulance will check if there are certain or certain other requirement for the patient, and they send to other hospitals for further requirement. Every ambulance is under patients about 150 to 200. So total up to this, 8 here about 22,000 patients were checked, and now again ambulances were increased. This project is done BJS and Force Motors along with the Lunkad Reality, and very good project. And about every day 5,000 patients should be checked from 21st April.
I think we're facing some audio issues from Bhandari sir's side, but I think from my chat with him, what I'd understood is that they've had 15 ambulances so far, and they've
Yes.
already sort of reached out to 15,000 patients within
Yes.
the PCMC area. And this means that people who can't actually go to the doctors, and it's safer for them not to go to the doctors at this point, you're actually taking ambulances and going and delivering that medical care to these people directly door to step. What I also kind of gather from his conversation is that there are other people who are now wanting to be part of this initiative, and I think there is a forecast of about 100 ambulances
Yes.
that they will come up with, so that they can spread out their reach, not just limited to Pune but also outside. So I think that's another great initiative, providing medical care to people. Otherwise, you'd expose people to untoward risk. And the other thing is, if you have all of these people rushing to go to the doctors with early symptoms, you just increase that risk even further. So I think great work. Bhandari sir, I'm also going to ask you about the quarantine facility
Okay.
within your hostels. If you can give us a little
Okay.
bit of
Okay.
a view of
We
that.
have educational institute in Pune, and that is in Wagholi near to Pune, in which there is a capacity host 1,000 boys are. We empty our hostel. Boys are sent to their homes safely. 1,000, which will this.
Okay, again, I think a bit of an audio issue, but from what I understand is they have an educational facility in Wagholi. The hostels can house about 1,000 students, and now the students, because of the quarantine period, have been sent home safely. That facility, equipped with uh, rooms for people to stay, a functional kitchen that can serve hygienic food that was used for students, can be used for people who are in quarantine, and using the existing infrastructure to support government efforts so that people who need to be quarantined, they can be quarantined in a safe and a good environment. I think that is where their institution is playing a big role. So educational institutes are also doing their bit in terms of the facilities that are vacant right now. They're using those facilities to aid the government's effort further, making it easier for society to deal with this crisis situation. So Bhandari sir, big thank you for all your efforts, and to your teaching staff's effort as well, because they're not now just sitting at home, but also aiding this work of reaching out to
Yes.
provide medical care, and also keeping their facilities ready to support governments when
Yes.
they need to. So
Uh,
big thank you on that.
I
Thanks.
think this is like the best case scenario for the community heroes, the second line of defense, actually helping the frontline heroes, the first line of defense.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Exactly.
great. Thank you for your
Okay.
work. Thank you for the service,
Thank
Bhandari sir. Yeah.
Right. We've got Amit Munot and Ajit sir also on the call. I'm actually going to go to Amit Munot now first, and Pratik, not because he stays in the same society as you, but I'm going to ask Amit that you gave a check of 5,71,000 for the PM CARES fund through your
Yeah.
initiative of connecting with the residents in the society, and we want to understand how did you
Yes.
go about it, because that is not a small amount to generate. Please, if you can tell
Yeah.
us a bit more about it, please.
Yeah. Briefly, I stay in Pune in Market Yard area. Our society is Vardhamanpura, and there are around 335 flats. So around 2,000 people stays in our society in a gated community. So I am the treasurer and associated with the community and the people and committee in the committee from last 7 to 8 years. I'm working from them, and since my hostel days I was a bit I had an inner instinct to be connected with people, having known to each other, helping them. I used to help my students, guys, everybody. So in the from the early days I had a hobby of getting connected with people. So it came when I came back to this society at around 7 to 8 years back. So since then I was connected with the community, with my society committee, with the people and everything. But since the long lockdown, I'm the treasurer since then also. Means from the first committee till now, I'm the treasurer of the society. So I basically deal with finance in my office job also, in my society job also. So when the lockdown came, then everybody was shocked. Everybody, it was very hard for everyone to stay at home, to get to because everybody in our society is mostly a business class society. So mostly everybody has some shop, has some offices and all. So when then the the primary thing what we the society committee thought we should protect our people. This is a small village which I think so of 2,000 people is, I think so, a small village which we feel as a committee should protect our small village from outside. So we made some rules. We firstly we made some timings for the gates so that our people are protected. We installed some basic sanitization and sanitary unit. Then again we have basically we used to do spraying in our society from last 1 month. So basically what our society community people wanted from the from the society committee, we did everything. So after that, when our prime minister requested everyone to raise some money so that in this financial situation, the financial crisis, we can help other also. So we thought that rather than asking everybody to give some money, we as a committee will ask some mere amount to be compulsorily billed to everyone. So we first we took the opinion of all the people. So what amount to be taken from everyone? So everybody told ki, someone told ki 2,000, someone told 1,000, some people told ki 500. So we thought ki chalo 500 rupees will not be an burden to anybody. So we told everybody that we will be billing you under the PM Cares Fund to each and every person in the billing cycle at which starts at 1st April. We bill them rupees 500 in each bill. So we collected at around 1,67,500 rupees from our 335 flat owners. Then the committee thought ki chalo theek hai, we have to have some more money also. So some people told ki nahi yaar ye bahut kam amount hai, so you ask for some more amount. So we told them ki this is what we are telling everybody to pay. We will if you want anything extra to be paid, you can contribute to the fund, and so a big amount we can definitely give it into the PM care. So everybody spontaneously in around I'll tell you, in around 5 to 6 days we collected at around 5,70,000, which is a mere 100% contribution from the members only. The society at its profits or at its balances did not contribute anything. The thought behind this was ki the members will be responsible to be paid to the world, means to Indian government, and the society whatever we will be contributing, which will be having our balances, we will be maintaining our own staff. Means for example, we have around 50 to 60 staffs, which includes housekeeping staff, security staff, our own staff, and everybody. So the society thought ki society will contribute, or we will expend on whatever amount to the welfare of our staff. So that thought was given into it, and then we started from the first day, from around till what at around 20-25 days we are feeding all the staff into the society. We told them you don't bring any food into the society, we will feed you everyone. And then after then we also gave them, because having staff and maintaining our society, and in this crisis situation coming into the society and doing all the housekeeping work, security work, then staff collecting all the necessary whatever the regular maintenance work of the societies, it was a big deal from their own. So we thought ki our responsibility is to take care of our staff. So we gave them a token of gratitude to them ki baba chalo we will help them. So everybody from the society, some people gave them 1 month ration, some people gave them other things, everybody gives ration, some gave them consumable FMCG items, some gave them food. Then society also from their funds gave them around 1 month's salary. So this was done from your end, and I feel that the PM is doing for the country, CM is doing for the state, and this is as a society committee, we are responsible to our society, which they have given trust to us, and we are taking utmost care so that the members are from our society of around 2,000 people are being protected from the outside coronavirus, and we are doing our best to do this. So this is what and regarding this, there were many initiatives taken from our side. We have attached one sabji wala who is only one single person. Means there is no scarcity of any person, and the people is not feeling any like this. They are not feeling any hamper कि अब भाई कोरोना में मुझे कुछ मिल नहीं रहा है. So everybody is getting everything. He is getting sabji. We have tied up with DMart and all. So DMart is coming into the society so that the social distancing and the people going out for a smaller PT items, we have stopped, and we have opened the gate only for 2 hours in a day. So people who want medicine and all can go only in that 2 hours, and apart from 2 hours, 22 hours, our gate is completely closed. No one can go out. So that there is no the people are protected from this, because Pune has now become an hotspot in Maharashtra, and the number are growing like anything. So we feel that the people staying in our society should be protected. So whatever we needed, we are doing this.
No, that's a great thing you're doing, Amit, because I'm the living proof of whatever you're doing. I'm like one of the beneficiaries. So thank you for your work. I'm not here mostly in Pune, but for the last couple of months, I came to India, and then that's how, I'm kind of in an extension kind of mode as of now. Uh, and you rightly mentioned, I mean, the stuff that you guys are doing in terms of, let's say, getting like partnership with DMart, getting the Sabziwalas. I keep reading the messages on WhatsApp. I mean, we have like different WhatsApp groups for different buildings. So that's great work. I just wanted to understand more as to in terms of logistics. Like you mentioned, people have come together, but in terms of like how their response has been in terms of like what led them to kind of be a part of this.
Everybody was very spontaneous about it. Means basically everybody means the donation amount was from 1100 till 11,000 rupees. Everybody contributed. We didn't made it compulsory to anyone. It was a spontaneous. Whatever that person wanted, they would have donated the amount. We didn't make anything
Hi, Amit. I think there's an audio issue.
Yeah.
I think there's an
only 500 was compulsory, and then we raised this amount of 5,71,000 from the members. It was not compulsory. It was never been compulsory to donate more families. The amount was being checked to our call, so that if you want to donate to people started donating, realizing, and in between there was as we are a Jain community, there was Mahavir Jayanti. We raised a emotional call to everybody. We will celebrate our Mahavir Jayanti in this way, so that we will serve to the mankind. So that went emotionally to the people, and everybody started donating whatever they are there, and have been donating at their level also. But since a society, we requested everybody. We know that they're individually doing everything what they wanted to. We appeal that you're doing everything, but for
I think Pratik.
Yeah.
There's an audio issue on Amit's side, but
yes.
just to summarize, I think what he meant to say is that when they called for sort of donations from people, the response was very spontaneous, and right from 1100 to 11,000 people actually pitched in, and it just shows that people are not in the mind frame of just conserving resources for themselves right now. People are actually opening their hearts out, and people are understanding that this is not the time for us to kind of just conserve cash, but also sort of say, okay, if I've got enough resources, for those who don't have those resources, we're more than happy to contribute to them. Amit also mentioned that using some of, I think religion is a big thing in India, and using some of the key religious events and sort of tying in a call to action around that, sort of appealing to people's emotions and using it towards generating resources. So we take that idea on board, and I'd say thank you to Amit as well. I think from that I'll move to somebody who's not spoken yet, but I know a very humble and very soft spoken person, Ajit Petkar. And I'll say this because Ajit sir obviously is a secretary for one of the largest housing societies in Pune, and he's been key towards sort of bringing in harmonious sort of agreement on how they are going to work as a society, the 1,500 people or 250 homes that are within the society. And Ajit sir, I would like to understand from you, what kind of system have you put in place so that people aren't denied the daily comforts that they are used to? If you can speak a bit about that, please.
Yeah. Yogesh, before I talk about Prism Society, I would like to talk about some development that has happened like last year.
Okay.
You are aware that we have about 10 societies surrounding our society. So all these 10 societies, we come together and formed a group called Advanced Locality Management. We call it Advanced Locality Management Own Special Area. Okay, Parisa. So basically, like in short form is ALMSP. Now the idea of Advanced Locality Management was from Mr. Ratnakar Gaikwad, who had been a former Chief Secretary, Government of Maharashtra, who's a resident of Prism. He was the person who started the first ALM in Mumbai when he was additional commissioner in Mumbai. Okay, so he gave us the idea. We gathered, all 10 societies came together, and like we formed a group. Now, why I mentioned about this is this has really helped us in generating, creating new resources, because like it is not only now one society but a group of 10 societies having 1500 families. Okay, so like everybody had some ideas and the resources, so which we could share amongst each other to facilitate the members of our society. Okay, so we've been basically working together. Now, coming back to how we manage the situation in Prism. See, all the societies, like they started with the sanitization, then the restrict members movement, restricting movement of the maids. Now, a lot of Prismites will be watching this show. Shall be very honest, we have not been very successful in restricting the maids. Okay, but we have been making efforts. Okay, but then there are some people, like some senior citizens are there. Somebody has delivered a baby. Like there's some bachelors staying who can't cook the food. So like there have been requests, and we have to like honor to that. So a lot of members, most of our Elizabeth members are not happy about this failure, in stopping the maids. Okay.
Correct.
Now, see what happened is that when this lockdown started, coronavirus being a very infectious disease, there was a lot of panic throughout the world. Okay, so
Right.
we are not exception to that. Now, but then like we thought that there should be some positivity. Okay, of course, like we implemented the standard processes which were implemented in all other societies, like delivery at the gate. So we have a lot of next door traders as well as DMart and all. So we organized that. Then vegetables we organized. Okay. Now the problem was, like there were certain government restrictions on certain things. Like you must be aware that like on WhatsApp, only the admins can post the messages and not the
Correct.
members. Okay, but in our case, like I trusted all our members, and we did not impose that. Like if each and every person can post the messages. Now, why that restriction was there? Because the rumors should not be spread. Okay, and like political messages should not be posted. Okay, so I requested all the members that this should not be done, and till today everybody respected that. Okay, so there are no rumors spread on our WhatsApp group, but like now why we thought of this is because during this time people need to interact with each other. There are a lot of
Right.
senior citizens in our society. Okay, they like only husband and wife are staying, so they need to interact. They don't leave the house. So if we restrict, then that interaction would not have been possible. Okay, and also like it has helped us in different way that like a lot of people give us new ideas, and like we try to help the senior citizens. Okay, if somebody needs the help, he can ask for the help, and we can help them. Okay, now what we have done now, our security people don't have much of the work these days, because there's no movement of vehicles. So what we
Correct.
do is like whatever senior citizens we got, so if they need anything, it's not the gate delivery, but if even like whatever they need, we ask security guy to go and buy it and supply it at his place. So we have many senior citizens since the day of lockdown, they have not come out of their flat,
That is
and they got
amazing.
everything that like they need. So this is the thing, like then because like 10 societies are there, so we got like the resources like vendor for vegetable, fruits. Okay. Now there's one decision that we took. Like one of our other society member, he shared one contact of NGO who could supply the mangoes. Okay. Now the idea was basically to help the farmers.
Right.
So we decided, like we'll buy the mangoes. But initially when we took a decision in ALM, there are certain societies, like who criticized, does mango come under essentialities and all? Huh? But like as I told you, because of that panic, the positivity is not there. Okay, and about mango, like it's a favorite fruit of all the society, all the people in India. Okay, so there's a lot of positivity. I'll tell you, like we decided, we started collecting the orders, we started collecting the payments. 3 days the discussion was only on mango and no coronavirus, no COVID. So that was the reason. Okay, so there's a lot of positivity. Huh? So there's certain decisions, like which logically nobody will take. We took such decisions. That helped us in having a lot of positivity. Okay, and so initially the idea was to help the farmers, but ultimately we helped ourselves. Okay, now we just received, like yesterday we received the farmers for all the families. Immediately the demand was, like when is the next lot going to come? Okay, so this had been it. Secondly, I'll tell you, like another controversial decision within our society. Okay, there's some, like few guys who approached me that like we have a lot of craving for non-veg. These were non-vegetarian people. Now it was, like a very disputable decision. So I said, like, okay, let's do one thing. Basically, I come from a vegetarian family, so it was not any selfish motive. Okay, so we decided to form a Prism non-veg group. Okay, so like the moment we found that group, about 25 people, like they came together. So rest of the society's got nothing to do with that group. Okay, and I've been just a silent observer of that group. That nothing wrong is going on over there. Okay, now and this was not banned by the government of Maharashtra, or even central government. So a lot of people sharing the contacts, like this chicken is good and this fish is good. Of course, I don't understand anything out of that. But like they are communicating on that, and so again, like in that group, the positivity started. Okay. Good. Now, if we would not have allowed this, a lot of people argued with me, at a personal level. Nobody argued in the group. Okay, that does this come under essentiality, and why did you do this? Like you shouldn't have done that. So I said, if I would not have done that, the people who have the craving for non-veg would have gone out.
Correct.
Which I wanted to avoid. Okay. Yeah. So now what they did, they formed a group. Okay. So one person goes and gets, or like they place online orders. So all the deliveries come at the gate, and from there it is delivered. So this is what like we did. Other than the routine.
I think that's the idea, that whether you want mangoes or something else, finding ways for getting those things to people's doors instead of having for them to sort of step out, and that's essential, so that people don't sort of take untoward risks, etc. So I think Ajit sir, thank you very much. Those were very ingenious sort of initiatives, simple as they may sound. It also tells you that during this time, all the experience you've accumulated over the years, understanding people's needs, finding ways for those needs to be fulfilled, and sort of creating a harmonious environment within, so that the most vulnerable are taken care of, and also everybody's sort of expectations are met, bringing all of that together. I think huge part of credit to you for achieving that, and making sure that there is positivity and not just coronavirus forwards in the group. So
certainly.
Thank you. Over to you, Pratik, on that then. Do we have any questions at all?
Yeah, I think we got a couple of questions in the comments. Let me see.
Okay, there were, I think there were a couple of comments, but we probably answered that. One was to Bhandari sir, which was which area are you currently working in? And he works in the Wagholi Vadgaon Sheri area, and they're planning to expand their sort of reach. So that's addressed. So Pratik, anything else you would want to add, ask?
Yeah, I think one last question I would want to understand. This can be a good primer to everyone who's also listening at this point, and even for us who are like common citizens, is like, what is it that you go through? Like I know Juhi and Amir mentioned about like having a good process. Then Amit and Ajit sir also mentioned about how they are going about things. But is there like 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of a checklist process that that people can just use it to their advantage? And then if anyone wants to take this from here.
Is that to everyone?
Yeah, anyone who wants to take this question.
Go for it, Juhi.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the tough part is the permissions part.
Okay.
Which I was mentioning with Yogesh on our earlier call.
Mm-hmm.
And Yogesh, it would be nice, and I was keen on you asking and raising that question so that we would also get access to knowledge. But the basics, I am sure that everybody is taking care of. After hearing Ajit sir's, we are thinking we'll make the dal chawal biryani and banana mango project. Because the happiness level is very critical and it's very important, and we are missing out on that. That was a very nice angle. But the basics are really to ensure that we are able to do the good work without having cause any consequences that are not good while we are in the process. So stay contactless, and that I think is the main key.
Okay. Amit, the MKR Amit Jain, I'm going to ask you, because you work in this field a lot, and because Juhi asked these questions, is like, how do you go about sort of, getting permissions from government bodies on some of these, like, we know that we're doing this for good intent. How do you get sort of, government support for some of those things if more people want to do this kind of thing?
Right. So basically the NGO which we have been working on ground are been working from a long time. And frankly, like we have some collectors and all the police people in the team, and we know them like across the country. So whichever are doing, so we, give the reference kit, these are the people who are working on ground. And then you can, allow us the permission. So because the NGO and the people who have been working in different parts are working from a long time. So they themselves has a, lot of connections on the ground. And we only help the NGOs who tell us, okay, we have the government permission, we have the safety measures on hand, then only we go forward with them. And the people who don't have, and if they're really working hard, so we try to connect them with the local authorities to get it done.
So basically reaching out to local authorities, because one thing, at least this is pretty common in India, and which isn't seen much, let's say in the West, the UK or the US, is the strict lockdown measures, or I think it's pretty common in Asia with respect to the strict lockdown measures, wherein you can't actually step out of your society or your house, and if you're like wanting to do something like a dal chawal project, then how do you get out of the society and like convince the cops on the ground who are also helping you in turn, and explain them that, okay, this is something that I'm doing, or do we have like do we get something like a pass, under maybe something like Amit mentioned, partnering with someone like an NGO. Yeah, Juhi, do you want to? Yeah.
Actually, I was curious about, I think Amit wants to say something.
Sure, Amit, go ahead.
Right after that, I would love to hear, see, Amit sir has the NGO contacts, and Pandari sir is already, if I'm not wrong, he had access to the ambulances and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So are there any specific permissions that you acquired in your areas from the government bodies?
Mr. Bhandari.
Yes. Hello.
Since you're doing this on such a large scale, the ambulance, etc. It would be nice if you could share, you followed by Mr. Amit Jain, could share what these specific permissions are, because it will be key for us in.
This is in collaboration with Pune Municipal Corporation and municipal corporations. So with permission with them, in collaboration with them, we carried out this project.
Okay. In collaboration.
Okay.
So perhaps if it could be any of y'all, and Amit, from the MKR. I would probably like to get in touch with you, and since expansion is on my mind, so maybe the personal contacts, the friends with the governments. I mean, it'll be a good thing to look at
Yes,
opportunities
yes, yes.
to collaborate in our efforts.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Because, frankly, that was a question on my mind initially when we started this, how we'll get the permission and everything. So this insight we got, like any NGO working on ground, now, all post on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Insta, and Google. So the basic, example, if I want to help someone in Assam, in Jorhat region, I just go on Twitter, hashtag Jorhat COVID help. I get all the details of the government, the NGOs. They're more active on Twitter. So I just tweet to them, see which NGO is working, try to contact them, call them कि भाई ये help चाहिए. Then 3-4 call के बाद में we get the help in that way.
Great.
Very
Great.
nice. That's very helpful. Thank you. Thank you both of you.
Thanks for answering that question. There's one more question from Mr. Sanjay Pange, asking how will you ensure that domestic help gets their pay without allowed to work at this point in time? I think Amit Munot did point out in one of his things that
Ajit sir wants to take it.
they were, I think, given like 1 month of salary. So I think Ajit sir, do you want to go ahead.
See, members of our society voluntarily decided that we should pay the salary even during the lockdown period, whether they come or not. Now, something I wanted to talk about was the support staff. Our support staff had been so nice, every day there was 100% attendance when the lockdown started. They're doing a lot of sanitation work, extra duties, without any expectations. Now the suggestion came from all the members of the society, we should pay them well and do something for them. Okay. So then we decided, to pay, the management committee decided to pay 50% extra till the time lockdown period is there. They've been doing a great job. That is one. Okay. Secondly, they have been really working extra time. Now we had security who used to come from the outside. Now we had a place in a society, so we made a provision for them to stay in the society. So that they don't have to go out because we don't know with whom they come in contact with, and we wanted to avoid the risk. Okay, because all our security guys are from UP and Bihar. None of them are the local guys. So we didn't want to take that risk. So they've been staying. So initially when they came, every day somebody used to provide the food. Now today only I posted a message on a group that people are still providing the food. It's up to you. There's no need now because they've been cooking and they have all the facilities available. But members are still taking care of and what I learned is the social distancing we talk about. Okay, that we have to maintain the distance. But otherwise the social distancing has been reduced. Okay. Today, all these members think more about the support staff.
True.
And they've been encouraging them very well and trying to look after them.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, that's well put. We are basically socializing more than what we were in the past. So that's beautifully put, actually. Additionally, I'd also point out here is, in terms of we as individuals helping people, there's also like a moral responsibility that we need to kind of imbibe in terms of tips or getting the tipping culture here in India. Basically, like if we are, at least in these times where you see a lot of people helping you, community heroes or people on the front line. So tipping is something that we can definitely do on whatever, like small level or so that's something that we can do in addition to the salaries of, let's say, the workers.
I think it's the whole attitude of if you give a little more, you'll get a whole lot more. And so I think it's just that, and people who have the resources, I think we've all got to sort of open our hearts a bit more to make things around us, for people around us, that much more easier, I think. So I've thoroughly enjoyed actually, listening to all of you, understanding your initiatives, your mindsets, your passion and commitment. So Pratik, we are on top of our time. So if you would
yes.
like to, kind of, this can go on. I can
Oh yeah,
happily
totally.
sit another hour, but we've just got to respect everyone's time, and that people need to get back to their lives.
Yeah, and get back to what they're doing.
Exactly.
Just keeping inspiring. Yeah, that's perfect. So, I think the speakers today have unpacked a clear pathway as to how common people like us, citizens, like common citizens, can get involved in a crisis situation like this. And I believe all you need is a little courage to stand up and give it back. Be it how Ajit sir and Mr. Amit Munot are like being great examples to their societies, to what Amir and Juhi are doing collectively with like feeding thousands of people, and to how Santosh sir is actually driving the Doctor to Door initiative, and finally how Amit is actually with all the resources, with all the might, he's inspiring so many people to get involved, to raise like millions of rupees. So I'd like to salute you all on behalf of the community and the citizens of the country and the world. What you're doing is no less than a service to humankind. And I'd love to have everyone join me in giving like a round of applause to the community heroes, the second line of defense. Thank you everyone for tuning in. This episode will be uploaded on YouTube soon. I will leave you guys at that. Thanks again. Have a great time. Stay safe and keep inspiring.